All right, welcome. The February 2nd meeting of the Diversity, Racial Equity, and Inclusion Committee will now come to order. As the first order of business, we'd like to approve the minutes from the January 26th meeting. I assume everyone had received the minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes? Any corrections or edits?
You don't have any?
If not, could I get a motion to approve?
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the January 19th, 2021 meeting of the Diversity, Racial Equity, and Inclusion Committee.
I've got a second to that motion.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Say aye.
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 And I believe at this point that, Trish, I might need your help on this one. I wanted to add an item to our agenda, and I wanted to move it.
Well,
Is that something we can do now, or?
adding to tonight's agenda, if it's something that's going to be voted on, can't be added to tonight's agenda, but if it's a discussion that will take place under a specific topic, I mean, what is it you were?
I wanted to discuss the resignation.
Oh, okay, that is not something that's going to fall under any of these topics.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. We'll put it on the agenda for next meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Or you can just notify the board, if it depends on, how you want to handle it. But yeah, we'll put it on the agenda, or you can notify the board via email.
Okay.
Either way.
Okay. Well, we'll actually just jump into the agenda. I think the first item on the agenda was the Black History Month kickoff, and wanted to just chat with folks, see how folks were feeling about it, and share any thoughts or any info that we've seen, and also get any updates if there's any things that we should be looking at or aware of as the month unfolds.
Cherise, you have something to talk about?
Oh yeah, it's been exciting. First of all, I'm so thankful that I checked the notify me on these different topics, because I'm getting information about the Board of Health and also the Black History Month, and having these notables come in on a daily basis. It's been so educational. And I can say, like, there was so much I didn't know about Josephine Baker. So that was exciting. It's just all this new information that I'm learning. And I like that it's coming out at a daily basis so I can absorb it. And if I want to go and learn more, it's awesome. So one of the things that we were trying to get uploaded sooner, but it wound up being later because we had to do all these critiques and edits. But I'm really excited that Aaliyah Floyd, a young woman that I sponsored from Methuen, has come, and she's saying "Lift Every Voice," and she put pictures in the backdrop, and was working on a green screen, and I'm learning so much. And as you will see in the rolling credits, they listed me as a producer. I said, "Oh my gosh, this is like big deal, right?" So I said, I am like a one-day producer, and I'm putting that on my resume. I'm just saying.
There you go.
I really want to thank Latasha for being a second eye on certain pictures. We thought, no, that we don't like that. So we were able to kind of just go over the backdrop of the video. So if Trisha has that video, we'll present it. And so if you see anything that you feel is uncomfortable or something like that, we still have time to edit it, which is nice. That's one thing. The second thing is we spoke with, we have another addition that we added that I wasn't able to talk to you about, but she's a marine biologist. Her name is Dr. Morris, Dr. Jovan Morris. And so she's going to be interviewed by Pete during like a talk show segment. And she's an African-American male biologist, and what she does is she comes into the Merrimack community and talk about endangered species and those types of things. But what we decided to do was have her talk about how she got into the sciences as an African American woman. So we kind of flipped it so it could be more applicable to Black History Month. And that's going to be really exciting because he's going to be interviewing her. And she literally got into it because of Katrina. Her family had to be uprooted and moved to, so it's going to be a fascinating section on him interviewing her. And at another time, she will still probably highlight some of the things that she does about protecting our environment. Like we have fish in the Chelmsford waters that I didn't know about, sturgeons, and she'll highlight a little bit of that as part of what she does. So that's going to be fascinating. And this Friday, Sheila Upchurch is going to be coming in to read Still I Rise, and her daughter will be doing liturgical dancing to the words. And so that's already set and ready to go. So everything is falling into place. And so with that, Trisha, if you have the video, we can see it and tell me what you think.
All right, sounds good. Let's go.
We can't hear the volume.
Yeah,
Oh,
guys.
no, we can't? Oh,
Yeah, guys,
no.
because this is a screen share and not a stream. We're not going to get any audio.
Oh, no. So
okay.
is there any other way I can do it? Should I save it in Teams? Maybe I can do that? Hold on. Let me see if I can put it into the, I wonder if I play it in Teams, if that would work. Let me see. All right, hold on a second.
Or the other thing is I can follow along with you and just have it from my phone where they can hear the voice. I mean, it'll be a little different, but
Yeah, hang on, and let me see if I can figure this out. If I can copy the file in Teams, and I wonder if I can just play it as part of the meeting. I'm not sure. First of all, I don't know why I have to download it again, but let's see. All right. Well, in the meantime, let me take off my screen share here. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, so I'm gonna try, I took off that, and I'll try and see if I can put it into Teams and play it from there. Do you think that'll work, Brian? I don't know. Who knows?
I have no idea.
Okay, unless you want to just put it on your phone, Sharice, and hold it up so people can see.
right, I could, yes, I'll try.
I just haven't uploaded it to the website yet, so that's how new it is. And now it's, for some reason, I've got to download it again. Oh, that's too bad, because I could hear it and it was beautiful. And I don't have enough power, I guess, to my laptop to be able to.
Okay, let's see if I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I mean, if you go back to where you were screen sharing, and maybe we can do it at the same time, and the words will.
You think?
Not sure. I'm not sure it's going to be synced up if you do that. But
Okay, well, let's see.
Okay, let me do one thing first. I want to just see if I want to copy. All right, hold on.
But while she's doing that, it's just been exciting working and learning, and just this whole avenue of, CTM and the platform that we're being able to use. And he's going to have it on his site. And he's calling all these series, because he has to name it something, is Chelmsford Celebrates Black History.
mhm.
And that's the name of the series. So whenever you go in to see it, all those videos that we'll be doing will be falling in that category. And you saw the beginning that had the highlights. So there's a guest is waiting to join.
Oh, is there?
Uh-huh.
I don't see anybody in a queue. We have a guest. I mean, we have Diane Donovan as a guest. She's here. She's in, and so
It says view lobby. Oh well. Okay.
Do
you want me to just do it? Can you see my?
Okay, hold on a second.
No, I can't really.
Well, you can hear it, and you can go in and see it once if she can't get it.
Yeah, for some reason, it's not, I don't see it in, Oh, wait, here we go. Uploaded one item. All right, I'm gonna try to play it and we'll see what happens. Tell me if you can hear it, all right? Come on, open, play. I'm sorry, you guys.
It's okay.
Oh, okay, I can see it. And now I wonder if can you hear it?
No.
Yeah,
Hear it?
I'll just
it
play.
might be easy. It might be easier, once it's, once you've got it posted for us to go out and hear it that way. I think that might be a better use of the time at this point, because we
Okay.
can't really see it, we can't really hear it, and I'm
Yeah,
sure, I'm sure it's great. In fact,
It's beautiful.
a lot, and a lot of the feedback, I've gotten a lot of feedback just in the last 24 hours of folks, who we know in the community calling to say, hey, I went to their website. Hey, there's a lot of information there. Folks were actually surprised to see that we had so much there. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of information there. I think our webpage is great. There's all kinds of stuff there. When you get down to it and you go in there and you look at the links, you see what's there. There's a lot of information in there, especially when you consider what we've come from. There was nothing there, and then I am reasonably certain that there are lots of other communities in the area where there's not anywhere near the content that we currently have. So I don't know about you guys, but I feel good about what we have,
Okay.
what we offer. I feel
So
very
I
good.
don't need to play it to you guys are
I
good?
don't think I'm in, unless people feel differently, because I'm not sure we're going to be able to fully
While we're
appreciate it and see it.
talking, I'm gonna upload it to the website and then maybe by the time the meeting is over, we can play it or something. It's
Okay.
like closing. How's that?
That sounds good.
I'll work on it while I'm doing this.
So that's my portion of where we are. And so we'll have two other additions, one in this area of science that'll be coming up, and on Friday, the dance will be shown.
Mhm. Great. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks so much for for the work you've been doing on this, Sharice. You pulled a lot of that together, and everybody on that committee has been great. Natasha,
Yes, thank you.
fantastic. Is Lauren's hand up? It looks. I see like a little purple circle flashing around Lauren.
No, it shouldn't be. My hand's not up.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know why it showed that.
Is it up? No, it's now. No, it's not. Sorry.
Okay, there you go. All right. Any other comments as it relates to the rollout? Anyone else hearing anything from their friends, neighbors, folks who've been to our website, our webpage? That is. I'm sorry.
I did forward it to the superintendent who sent it out in his newsletter, which was great.
Was great. Yeah.
To all the kids connected. It went to all the families. So I'm hoping they're using it.
And I'm seeing
And
a
what
lot
I-
of people sharing it on Facebook, which is nice. They're
Yeah.
sharing links.
And what I've been doing too is enrolling people to sign up for the DREIC. I just put their email in and tell them it's coming, and they just need to verify their email.
I love That's great.
So therefore, they don't have any excuse.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Right. That's definitely one way to do it. Fantastic. Well, I think the kickoff is going very well, and I think we should all be proud of that. So that is a good thing. If we don't have any more comments on that, I'll move into the next agenda item, which is the training opportunities that we had been talking about. I've gotten a lot of good info. Rachel, the link that you sent me on, I believe it was Point Me Learning, was really great. In fact, I took advantage of the free module, and what I saw was something that was really good. I thought that could be used. I then got some info actually from a couple of my kids who said that they had access to lists, and now I've got I don't know how many pages of potential training links that are out there. So clearly, I think as we all, suspected, there's a lot more information out there than than you might first think of. There's all kinds of stuff out there. And I think one of the challenges, I think, for us is going to be kind of figuring out what do we want, what kind of training do we want? What do we want the focus to be? Again, what's the audience? There's going to be all kinds of things about how much things cost. So there's a whole lot of things that are going on, and I think it's a lot of interest here. So Brian, I think you had your hand up first, so I'll call on you.
So speaking of the whole training thing, to the surprise of I'm sure none of you, I went looking and found a video game that had been developed by the Wisconsin, who built this? The Wisconsin Center for Education Research. If we have a couple minutes, I can actually show it. I can actually share it, and you guys can see what's up with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
So I just want to do like 5 minutes.
Okay.
All right. So you guys can see the screen.
Yep.
Okay. So this is you can go to fairplaygame.org. This is I'm actually playing in the web version, so you don't even need to download anything. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click new game here. And so what this game does is it puts you in the shoes of a Black graduate student named Jamal Davis. The full game is it's completely voice acted and there is music, but obviously since we can't do sound, you guys will just be able to see. So basically you're so yeah, it's basically trying to put you in the shoes of somebody who is going to be encountering implicit biases and how that would make you feel if you were the one receiving them. So when we started talking about how we wanted to have interactive training, this was the first thing I went to because I'm a big proponent in video games as a way to experience things in a different way that's different than just reading a web page or watching a video or even clicking on what have you. So it's the interface is pretty simple. It's a point and click adventure. It's pretty standard. So you just click somewhere in order to go somewhere, and you're supposed to start off by talking to Crystal, who's another graduate student in your program. So this first conversation is pretty much just a discussion of, what are you doing here? Just setting up the tasks that you have to go through in the game. I'm just going to quickly. So this is about you trying to pick who your advisor is going to be, and just letting you know what you're supposed to do, which is, pretty simple. Just meet with Crystal, talk to Lucas to learn about getting funding, and you're supposed to remember that you're here to change the world, which I thought is pretty cute. But the first part where the actual stuff comes into play is when you talk to Morgan. Um, uh, Good to see you. We don't actually get many minorities here. Do you think the lack of minorities makes other Black students consider going elsewhere? And that pops up a little noise and gives you a red exclamation point, because this is a example of an implicit bias. So when you say, I can't speak for all Black students, he goes, well, I didn't mean to offend you. And he's, this is the avatar of somebody who's learning about implicit biases, which makes it a little more realistic that they're talking about it in this game so much. So implicit biases are unconscious thoughts and assumptions based on common stereotypes about groups of people. And he explains this, and you go through it, and so he can give you an example of stuff. And then that one was just, some people might assume that just because you're a person of color, you're only here on campus to play basketball. This makes it hard for people to assume you're here primarily for academics. So even people who think they are liberal, open-minded, and unprejudiced have implicit biases. So, and then he goes into the game mechanics of having the weird sound, a little exclamation point. So, Okay, and then so he's the more gamey version of this, and then the more, I would say a more realistic version is you're supposed to go talk to Lucas, and he's the graduate student manning the grill. And so when you walk up to Lucas for the first time, the first thing he says to you is, "Hey, do you know if there's any soda in the back?" And obviously he thinks that you're part of the catering crew instead of a graduate student trying to earn your PhD. And so that pops up another implicit bias things. Um, and then after you start talking to some people, you can actually go into your almanac, and that will show you all of the implicit biases you have currently encountered. So, for example, competency proving. To counter common assumptions about the presumed incompetence, members of minority groups frequently and repeatedly have to demonstrate that they are indeed qualified, capable, and or competent. And the in-game example of that is that Morgan suggested that instead of assuming you are here because of your academic accomplishments, people may assume you're only attending the university to play basketball. And so that's as far as I'm going to go through here. And the other game part of this is that eventually you will go into interactions with certain people, and when they show a level of implicit bias, you will then have to correctly identify what implicit bias they have shown you in order to proceed further. So it's both a way of getting you the experience of what these kind of biases are, and in addition, you have to learn what they are so that you can therefore identify them later on, instead of just having this all be some abstract concept. It's more of a concrete, this is what this person did, this is how it made me feel, and this is what it is in the academic literature. So it takes about an hour to play, so it's not a particularly onerous commitment. And I thought it was just a really good thing that we could recommend to people as a way of trying to get some empathetic experience into experiencing these implicit biases and what disadvantaged groups go through on a regular basis in terms of microaggressions and competency proving, status leveling, changing of standards, all that sort of stuff. So that was the thing that I researched for this, and so it's fairplaygame.org if you guys would like to take a look. So that's
And-
me.
Right.
And
Brian, this is something I'm assuming is free. You just go in
yes,
and log
yep,
in. Okay.
absolutely 100% free. You can play it online. You can download a Windows or Mac application, so you can play it on your system. But as you can see, the web version is working perfectly fine.
Mm-hmm. No,
Did you say fairplay.org?
Fairplaygame.org.
Thank you.
Actually, I think it's kind of cool. I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, again,
Question?
I'm not somebody who who is up on all the latest technology in gaming
Yeah.
and so forth. But having said that, I was looking at that saying, hey, what a great way, a different kind of way to get people into thinking about this, and to your point, experiencing what it's like. Because it's one thing like to talk to people, and lots of times people, for whatever set of reasons, they don't get it. It's not clicking, and it's like, what do you mean? I don't know what that feels like. I don't know what that looks like. And this gives you kind of a real way to start to experience that. I mean, you've got these avatars kind of walking around, and you can kind of picture yourself in that body, in that person going around. So I think that's something that's really cool. So that is definitely something I'll be doing.
Carly, you have a question?
Yep.
Yeah, I think Rachel had her hand up before me, though. Rachel, do you want to go?
I was gonna switch the topic a little from the game, so if your question happens to be on the game, you can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I think this is really interesting. My question is, because I haven't had a chance to go to the website yet, it's not rendering for me. But is the game inclusive for people with disabilities as well as LGBTQ? Is there anything other than just people of color, or have you delved into it to see if there are other groups that are included in the game?
I've played through the whole thing. From what I remember, it is mostly focused on the experience of people of color in academia. I don't remember explicitly if there is a gay character or there are no disabled characters. Probably it might have been harder to animate something like that. So this isn't super inclusive, but it is at least an interactive experience that lets you get an idea of what it might be like going through these sorts of things. And if you guys thought Lucas seemed kind of like a jerk at the beginning, you haven't seen anything yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm all done. Thank you guys. Rachel, you can go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to give a little bit more info on the training that I sent to Phil, just so the rest of the team had a little bit more info on that. This is training that I went through from my employer, and I've actually done it twice, and it was really good. It's from Point Made Learning, and there's a e-learning module that covers a film called I'm Not Racist, Am I? And as a company, you can do filmings of the I'm Not Racist, Am I film alone, or do their e-learning module, or they do facilitated workshops around the course. I've watched the film, done interactive sections, the e-learning, and the game that they have, which is an American Dream game. I think there's a few cool things if you can check out their website. I think the e-learning module is covers a lot of really good topics and really dives into not only some bias stuff, but then also systemic racism, privilege, and a whole lot of other topics in a really nice way, and great wraparound, even though it's not interactive. Their facilitation was great as well, but I think cost would probably be a factor there. And the film might be something cool to investigate. I don't know if they'd be open to this because it's, they kind of do these special screenings, but I think it would be kind of cool if we could get it on Chelmsford Telemedia and then broadcast it for residents as a special event, because the film in itself follows a group of high schoolers through their work through this, and you can really relate to a lot of different characters who are in their own place in their journey of understanding these concepts. So I suggest to kind of take it out, and like Phil said, they have an example module on there that you can take so you can get a sense of what the tone's like.
Rachel, do you know if we would have to get permission to be able to broadcast that on Chelmsford Telemedia?
Yeah, they do the filmings are through them on their website. It's one of their services. So we definitely need to talk with them about what would be allowed there.
Okay, if you can figure out a way that I can connect them with Pete and see if they can work that out, that'd be great.
And I gotta imagine there's some sort of a cost associated with that.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine.
I know I believe their online module is, I think it's $80, and you have access to it for 60 days or something like that. But I assume that's only just one individual license for one person to participate. So but what I saw, I thought was really good, and certainly not having delved into all the other stuff that my kids have sent me. I think that's certainly something we should look into to see if that's something that we could do.
Yeah, Phil, as you go through the stuff, let me know if you want me to reach out to them or if you want to make a connection there. I'm happy to do whatever you want in that. I'll follow your lead.
Latasha.
Yes, I have a quick question. What is the time frame that we're looking at for rolling out at least some trainings on our website?
I don't think we had identified a time frame. So
no, and we can I can add it whenever, whatever links I get, I can add them whenever you think is appropriate, anytime.
I'm wondering if we should have a working group look to identify at least 4 different types of trainings that we could use, some based on race, some based on disabilities, so that it's an inclusive D&I training sessions that we're offering on our website. And that's going to take time to review all the materials that we've received just this week.
Just to interject there,
I'm
Too,
sorry.
I also think we talked about like suggesting to the select board training. So I think there's like two threads here, like our own providing of training that we can send out to everyone, and then something suggested to people who sit on these committees.
And I think we actually need to do the trainings ourselves collectively too.
Agree.
Yeah, excuse me. And just on talking about the select board, I know I've been on a Facebook chat page that the Chelmsford Cares group, that's the alumni group, and they are really trying to put together something that they can do for or with the select board also to help kind of train and educate. So there's, you know, different groups doing it, not necessarily together at this point. A lot of people trying to get something done pretty fast. So we might want to piggyback on that or invite them into some of our ideas too.
Carly? And then Brian?
I didn't have my hand up, did I? Oh, I still have my hand up. I'm sorry. I'm all set.
Okay, my comment was going to be, I think we need to try to find a balance between how much training we're trying to give, because, you know, these are busy people. They're not going to have a ton of time. And if we just dump a truckload of training in their laps, they're just going to, you know, kind of freak out a little bit. So we probably want to, you know, try to find a couple things on the shorter side, and then maybe one really big long involved thing instead of multiple long involved things. You know, so we probably just want to get our own package together and then have a conversation with the cares group and then see what their package is, and then try to like get the best combination of all that stuff, just to not overwhelm, you know, folks. Like on our website, let's throw up links to whatever we can, you know, just throw it all out there and let people pick and choose what they want to do. But if we're going to do an actual recommendation, I think it needs to be a balance of big and small, not too much.
Right.
So that's my thought.
And yeah, and I think, you know, the suggestion of maybe getting a, you know, working team of people to look at training is probably a good idea. I don't know how others feel about that, but it would seem to me that, you know, this is a big enough area, there's enough stuff to kind of look at, and there's going to be some coordination that's going to be required. So, you know, I think, you know, having some sort of a training working group, you know, if you will, would make sense. You know, and I'd certainly, you know, want to participate in that.
Yeah.
Sharice, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say too, one of the things I like about Brian's video that he showed, the gaming, that will appeal to sometimes the younger group as well, like high schoolers who like to do that kind of interactive training. I know I probably would enjoy it too. So I think that's important to have that even as a side, and maybe even group them in categories, like whether it's disabilities, you know, the LBGT group, all those different categories, and have training in each section as a, you know, and I love the working group, Latasha. I think that's important and everybody can weigh in.
So do we want to put together that working group now, or we want to just have, you know, folks who are interested send either you know, Latasha or myself their name saying that they want to do it? How do folks want to proceed? You see,
This is Lauren.
I'm into doing it.
Yeah, no, I think it's great to have a working group. To piggyback on what Sharice said, maybe we could also do like age appropriate materials. When we start to gather information, you know, for different age levels, because obviously that game is great for high schoolers, but what kind of training even for younger crowds? So that's all. But I think you should have a definitely subcommittee for this.
so we've got myself and Rachel. Anybody else have their hand up?
Susan, you can add me.
Okay.
Can add me.
Okay. Okay, so we got Phil, Rachel, Susan, and
Can I-
Carly at this point. Anybody else? If not, we'll start with this group, and then I'll try to pull folks together and have our a meeting so we can kind of review what we've got. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that I haven't even looked at yet, but at least we can get started kind of talking through what the priorities ought to be and how we want to get started. Does that make sense?
Okay.
All right, great. Let's see. Next is the proclamation review. I apologize to folks. I thought I was sending the a copy of a version that I wanted that I was going to kind of throw out there. It's kind of a straw man for us to have a starting point. Unfortunately, I zigged when I should have zagged and hit the send button before I had attached the document. So I had to send it back to you, and I apologize, folks. Hadn't had an opportunity to look at it before the meeting. But just as a way of background, the select board, wanted to provide some of their comments to me. So I tried to get all of that information to you folks. So everybody, I did send that out to folks. So you only got 3 emails. The 4th individual gave me a call, and we talked through it on the phone. It essentially, if I look at it, to kind of boil down what some of the issues were or what people were looking at. The person that I called on, I think a couple people had issues with the whole idea of we and how that connected to privilege, and they got wrapped around that axle, and we seemed to not be able to, get away from that. I think with some of the feedback, if we could back out, or modify that language in some way that was more, I don't know, for lack of a better term, palatable for them, that would be something that we could certainly look at. The one individual, actually a couple of the individuals had concerns about our references to houses of worship and employers. Their feeling was they don't have any real jurisdiction over those entities. So when they looked at the proclamation, it seemed to imply that somehow we were requiring them to require of houses of worship and employees a certain set of actions. And I think they were made uncomfortable by that. And then there was one individual who had, a fair number of modifications or edits, if you will. Not all of them I thought were anything that we needed to really acknowledge or respond to. And goodness was, at least as I understood it, they knew that what would happen is they would give us their comments, we would review, but ultimately we would determine what kind of revisions we would make and how we present that. So the document that I sent out and had actually hoped we could use to start the conversation was one that tried to include some of their concerns, while maybe not including other ones, but at least just a way of getting the conversation started. And again, I just wanted to kind of toss that out there. Brian, I think you had your hand up first, so.
And actually, I think I did, Phil, if you don't mind. Yeah,
Sorry.
I'd like to make a comment immediately about what you sent out, because what you sent out actually is an individual pledge and not a proclamation from the board at all. And we already have an individual pledge that people have been signing on to. So
did I send you the pledge?
You sent a pledge that's an individual pledge, and it's
Well,
not.
I screwed up again.
Not
I'm sorry.
Oh, you had a proclamation as well? Okay.
I sent you the pledge.
You sent me the pledge,
right.
which we already have, and really we can't change it because we've already got over 35 people that have signed it.
Right. And I didn't know that was fully a mistake on my part.
Okay.
So
Okay.
no, the document I went through, and it was the proclamation. I sent you the wrong thing. Sorry.
That's
I will-
okay. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear that there are
Right, no,
two
no, no,
things,
no,
the
yeah, no.
proclamation and then the pledge. Okay.
No, I'm sorry.
That's okay. And if anybody else has, I have a ton to comment on, but I'd rather hear from the other members first because I don't want to be, forcing my views on everybody.
Mhm.
But so if the rest of the members could speak on it first, and then I'll chime
Sure.
in after.
I'll go first. I've read the revisions that you posted, Trisha, and I can find nothing in here that I would object to if I were on the select board. I don't think that it in any way frames anyone on the select board as being, you know, not supporting what we're doing, but also not obligating them to do anything that's outside of their purview. So I think it looks great.
Yeah, I would like to have an opportunity at the end to be able to talk about why I might have not included some of the things, but I was hoping other people would have those comments as well.
Tricia, where are you getting your revisions? I didn't find it. I found Phil's. Did you email it to us or did you post them on the Teams that I can't ever see?
The
were
revisions
emailed.
from the board was sent to us by Phil.
Oh.
By Virginia had the most, she had like 4 pages of, she
Oh.
had a very nice letter, and then she did a lot of work
Oh,
on
did
her
Phil,
revisions.
Phil emailed them to us? Okay, I did
Yeah.
get some emails. All right, I'll take them. I did read.
Trisha,
Yes.
perhaps you can share your revisions
Yeah,
with the
because I
team.
haven't seen your revisions either.
Okay, let me share my content here.
And I see Brian's hand has been raised for a while if you want to speak.
Yeah, the overarching thing I think we need to make sure that we get out of this discussion tonight is that we want the select board to be a pole star for the rest of the community. And that is the intent of having them sign this proclamation in the first place, to say, as a governing body of this town, we acknowledge this problem and are taking a stand against it. And I think that's the thing that we want to kind of make sure we get out of this, language aside. That is the overall goal I think we want to sort of shoot for. Because the discussion that they had was kind of, they had the thing that most of the group had a issue with was the ambiguity in the language of who was making the proclamation and what they were making it for. So I just think we want to make that as clear as possible so that they know that they are being asked to take a, tip of the spear kind of position on this, because, if they take that position, then one would hope that the rest of the town would be able to follow behind. So that's my comment.
Okay, so I spent quite a bit of time looking at the emails that were sent and the revisions that were suggested, and did a comparison of the 2 documents, really looked at point by point, questioning why maybe one revision was made or suggested over another. There were a lot of really good points in some of the suggestions. I didn't feel like I should take it on myself, but just to start off with the title, I really think our title, it was originally, I think, perceived as being a negative thing, but to me, making a stand against racism is really important. You are taking a stand against something and you are condemning something that is systemically wrong. So the title of the original proclamation is Condemning and Standing Against Racism, Discrimination, and Hatred. I think that's important right from the
Yes.
get, and not to justify why, because there should be no other reason than besides the fact that it's just wrong. So I almost felt like by softening it a little bit, by adding that extra language, it almost gave it an ulterior motive versus for just stating what it is. So again, I think to Brian's point, we do want our select board to take a very strong stand against racism. And by taking a strong stand against something, you are condemning it. And I personally think that's a really powerful and important word as right out of the gate.
Well, yeah, because if you go back to the speech that Arun gave in June when he referenced the analogy of our current society is structured like a moving walkway, and we are all on that walkway, and we don't have any choice of getting off it because the way that our society is built to pull everybody in that direction, and nobody has a choice. And the only way to make any sort of headway against changing that system is if you're on a moving walkway. The only way to make any sort of headway in the direction opposite to which it is pulling you is to turn around and walk backwards faster than the walkway is attempting to pull you forwards. So I think that needs to be shown, that we cannot make any progress by doing anything less than striding against the tide that is currently pulling us all in the direction of, to put it plain and simple, white supremacy, because that's what this country is. And we all need to make sure that we are turning around and striding in the opposite direction faster than we are being pulled, or we're never going to get anywhere.
And again, it is anti-racism. We're all trying to be anti-racists. So yes, it's not a pretty positive word. Racism is an ugly word. It's an ugly thing. And in order to stop it, we have to look it in the face, and we have to look at ourselves directly, individually in the mirror. And so, it has to start, yes, it starts with us individually, and same with the select board, but then as the select board, they're saying, as a board and as leaders of our community, we understand the importance of anti-racism, of being an anti-racist and standing and condemning racism in our community. So it shouldn't tie in to any other goals, to any other, it really just needs to stand, in my opinion, for exactly what it is. And this is a proclamation condemning and standing against racism, discrimination, and hatred. So I kept the title, and I kept the title the way we originally had it. But a lot of the other suggestions about combining the first two whereases, I did that, the way it was suggested. But again, making more emphasis on the fact that whether it's intentional or unintentional, that such words and acts are unjust. I thought that was important, that yes, we can accidentally say something hurtful, but it doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't mean it's any less right. So yes, we merged the first two whereases, but kept the emphasis on whether it's intentional or unintentional, that those words and actions are unjust. And then
This is Latasha.
Hi, Latasha.
This is Latasha. One suggestion that I would like to make for the committee is that when we're speaking of this proclamation, that we put into practice that we are condemning and standing against racism, discrimination, and hatred. All three, not just racism. I think that would help draw more people into it, because like I mentioned during the select board meeting, discrimination is very broad. Hatred is broad too. So is racism. So that is my one suggestion for the committee. If we can include all three when we do speak about this proclamation. Trisha, I'm very happy that you kept the word unjust in the first whereas, even though it's a combination, because unjust means morally wrong or unfair. And that is what racism, discrimination, and hatred are. So I am pleased with this first whereas.
Okay. And the second one was left alone, so we like that. Martin Luther King, we don't want to mess with his words. The third whereas, again, that was the way it was described to be edited. well, actually, yeah, she did a lot of rearranging. So we combined the first two. So the second one now is the Martin Luther King quote. And then the 1, 2, 3, the next one down would be, how did I change that? I was confused by this one a little bit because it says it is important. One of the edits says it is important as individuals and as a community that we recognize and own our own biases. But then I questioned, does a community have biases, or are biases just individuals? And depends on how many individuals have biases that make up a community. So
Right.
I left out the as individuals and as a community, and just left it as it is important that we recognize our own biases, that we are willing to learn and educate others, which I added the word others. I thought that was a good addition to this, that we listen, that we strive to do better, and that we take genuine action to stand against racism, discrimination, and hatred.
I think that reads much better.
May I make
Yep.
a few minor edits to it after learn?
After learn, yep. Yep,
Willing to learn from
learn.
others and
Learn.
educate ourselves.
Oh, okay, I thought, okay, is that what the intention was, you think? Okay.
That's what I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Willing to learn from others
Okay.
and educate ourselves.
All right, that makes sense. Okay.
I don't think you put in the word others after from.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is probably nitpicking a little bit, but so we have the bottom part being now, therefore, we, the Chelmsford Select Board. Who is the we in the whereas section? There's we, us, and our. And I just, they nitpicked about that before. I just want to make sure that we
there-
have that
which-
part.
Right.
So in this whereas we're looking at right now, it is important that we recognize and own our biases.
Mhm.
You know, who's we? Who's our? Is this the select board in all cases? I guess we just maybe need to make it clearer. I don't know.
This is a proclamation from the select board. So
Okay.
Any reference to we in the first part, whereas would be as a board, we are.
In that case, though, don't we want to make the title be Town of Chelmsford Select Board Proclamation, as opposed to Town of
No,
Chelmsford,
because,
which
well, no, because they're signing it at the bottom. I mean, well, no, I don't. Well, I don't think it's necessary, to be honest.
Sure.
If they feel differently about that, but they didn't make that suggestion, so I don't want to add anything more that they didn't suggest, unless it's, unless.
And it's pretty clear down in the now, therefore, and the further. It states specifically the Chelmsford Select Board.
Yeah,
But
they
please,
did.
others, please contribute your thoughts on the wording of the proclamation.
Yeah.
Again,
I don't know.
I'm sorry, go
My
ahead.
general response.
I don't know.
Oh,
The one that I had that I didn't understand is there are many forms of privilege that exist simply because of our heritage, background, and experiences. That was the one I didn't necessarily understand what that meant.
you mean in her write-up, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Get it.
I'm going to share my take on that. I think that what people, because I ended up having some conversations with folks as well. I think what they were struggling with is the concept of we as somehow indicting them or seeing that as we're being singled out. In fact, I think one of the select people said, it felt like you were directing this at me. So I think when they see we, they were trying to figure out, in some cases, how do we soften that we so it doesn't seem to hit us so hard. that's my take on why there was, some concern about the term "we." But I think, I think we're absolutely right in saying, hey, this is from the board, so you're saying we as the board. That's really who we're talking about. So I try not to get too concerned about some of the edits, because I'm not sure that we have to make a commitment to trying to include all of them, or any of them for that matter. I mean, obviously we're doing our due diligence, but yeah, some of this I think was designed to make them feel better about what they may have felt was language that somehow indicted them. That's my take on it.
Can I piggyback on what you were just saying there, Phil?
Sure.
I feel like the language that was used there, I think it was beautifully stated. I mean, there are people who can easily navigate this earth without any worries because of, their privilege, because of their heritage or their background and experiences. But then there are people who cannot. And this is not condemning anyone. It's just acknowledging that that is the case, that there are some people who have an easier go at it because of where they come from, the color of their skin or whatever. And then there are others who don't. So I can't see anyone having an issue with that.
Latasha, you had your hand up?
No,
Oh.
I don't think so. Did I? I apologize.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
put it down.
shows that you did. Yep. Anything else? So, Trisha, you want to continue going
Should
through it? Or?
should that read? Should that read? There are many forms of privilege that exist simply because of heritage, background, and experiences. Like if you're not gonna call, I don't know what our heritage. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Does that make better sense as opposed to our heritage? Like whose heritage?
Yes, I agree.
Or you have
Okay.
to put, whereas we recognize there are. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense, Sharice, you're right. Because it would say, whereas we recognize there are forms of privilege that simply because of our heritage, or keep it the way Sharice just said.
I think taking the word out makes perfect sense.
All right.
Yeah. Keeping it simple, this is nice and simply stated. I think a lot of the other verbiage that was suggested to add to it, again, made it more confusing, and there were a lot of attributes to it that spoke more about discrimination than privilege. And so I think keeping it simple and more broad in this case, I think sends the message clearer. Is there anything, Phil, that you think that I drastically left out that you thought should have been included?
No, I don't see any glaring omissions. You're talking about the whole document now, or just the whereases?
No, the whole document. I mean, I thought the rest of it flowed pretty nicely. If everybody else agreed, it incorporated quite a few suggestions, simplified it, I think.
The only thing I would say is I know that there's significant concern on the part of at least two, if not three people, about this language of we, especially as it relates to the privilege piece. I know we've talked about that. The reason I continue to kind of bring it up, and I want the committee to be aware of it, is that I think it's going to be a deal breaker for some people. And I think that, well, let me just throw out an example of where I think we can perhaps modify the language and still keep the same message. So if we're on the second bullet under now, therefore, better understand and acknowledge those privileges we enjoy while others do not. And perhaps we could say, better understand and acknowledge privileges that some enjoy while others do not. So it's again, it feels like a bit of a compromise, but I think the we as it applies to this piece is going to be an issue for people, and I don't think the ultimate message changes that much if we make that kind of a change. I don't know what other people feel about that, but essentially it's the same thing. Better understand and acknowledge the privileges that some enjoy while others do not. That's, I mean, it's to me that's
others do not, or that others do not.
privileges.
Should it be while or that?
Oh, well, I'm sorry, while. While works,
Right.
yeah. While works. Yeah, I like while better.
While or which?
I like while.
Okay.
Because we're assuming that all the board is going to be of a certain type person, people.
No, I see. To me, I'm less concerned about the type they are, and more concerned about getting them in the mindset of people.
No, I
in
like the way
society.
you're saying
There are
it.
people that have privilege versus those that don't. You know,
Well, I'm
and
just saying, I like the way you worded it, feel better, because it's not we, it's like we,
right.
you know, the taking that we out takes what I just said out of that. Like,
Oh, okay, got it. Okay,
assume,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. All right.
I'm right on
Mhm.
with you.
Isn't there an element here though where the acknowledgement of your own privilege is part of what needs to happen? And I'm worried if we change the wording of this, it allows people to say, oh, I don't have that privilege. And I think
I
that
agree
piece
with you.
is such an important part of the puzzle.
I agree with you, Rachel, wholeheartedly. But
I also agree wholeheartedly on that. That's why my hand is up.
Yeah,
Right.
my hand was up because I was reading a Twitter thread that somebody on Facebook had linked, and it was a thread that was written by a trans person of color from Acton, I believe, and they brought up the fact that allyship, allyship meaning, you know, what essentially white people do against racism is based on acknowledging our privilege and using it in order to make progress, in order to help. And so understanding and acknowledging is all well and good, but unless they do something with that privilege, then they're not fully being as much of an ally as they could. And I think,
And,
I mean,
you know, and I
those,
got. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, those of us who aspire to allyship need to, you know, understand that unless we use our privilege to help those who do not enjoy the same privilege, then we're not really doing what needs to be done with it.
Okay. I felt the same way that you guys did initially about, again, looking at yourself in the mirror really honestly, hardly and honestly. But then as I'm reading this and I'm looking at the third whereas, and I understand that bias is different than privilege, but at the same time, the third whereas kind of gives me a little bit more of the feeling that they have to look at themselves individually to recognize and own their own biases. So as long as there's some sense of individual reflection in there, it's not saying that they're not deflecting privilege in the way that that statement was reworded. It's just better understand and acknowledge those privileges could
Right.
exist in themselves. It could exist in their neighbors and their friends and their family. It's to better understand and acknowledge those privileges that some enjoy, myself included, while others do not.
Right.
So
But
it's okay.
and I hear you, Trisha. The only thing that I want to say though is that the third whereas
Yeah.
says recognize and own.
Right.
The therefore says understand and acknowledge.
Mhm.
That's redundant. So I think we can say that the whereas is the understand, acknowledging, that kind of stuff. And then the therefore needs to be committed to using privilege to to bring about change.
Right. And, Brian, I agree with you, conceptually what you're saying. I don't think they get it, quite frankly. I don't want to kind of mince words. I don't think people understand that. So for us to continue to kind of push on that and kind of make that a sticking point for getting this signed, I'm not sure it's worth it. Again, I understand where you are, but at the same time, I think we need to, to think about what we're dealing with and what we're trying to accomplish here. And if there's room to make some sort of, if I don't know if folks feel it's a concession or not, I guess my point is I'm okay with that. I'm okay with taking this approach. I think there's enough in here that we can kind of point to that says, hey guys, you do own the stuff, and we are looking to you to kind of take a stand, to the community, and sign the pledge. So I guess I'm not sure it's a deal breaker. I don't know how the rest of the team feels, but
I'll just pose one question in response to what you just said, Phil. They don't get it now. If we don't tell them, who will?
I agree with that statement. This is going to be an excuse for them not to even understand that they have privilege. I've had so many discussions with people, my husband included at one point, where we had to explain. He grew up in a city, poor, 8 kids in a house, and he said, I didn't have any privilege. It's up to us to help educate what that means. And I don't think these people who said this got that they were privileged. And
Well,
I'm standing with Brian on this.
Except they're saying that they are committed to better understand and acknowledge, which means that's where the training piece comes in.
Okay.
So it's an invitation. It's an invitation. They're committing to better understanding it. So this is our opportunity as a committee to help the board and the community better understand what privilege is. I mean, and I was absolutely on the same page as you guys are, but I think that because the way they worded they're committed to better understand and acknowledge those privileges. Taking out the word we, I don't know. I get it. I know I get it. I really want them to look at themselves really hard, but I think that this is an invitation and a commitment for them to better understand it. So maybe if they can better understand it, we won't have this kind of pushback over time.
Exactly. Yeah. And we do have to, we've got to consider that. We need to figure out how we're going to get, people to begin to understand what it is we're saying, other than saying, kind of doing a lot of finger wagging. I don't think is going to assist, especially, with this group. So again, my take on it.
It's sad that the word "we" was looked at as finger wagging.
But again, I'm not mixing words with the committee. I'm trying to, obviously, be open, with you folks. But if everybody thinks this is a deal breaker, then I guess that's something we need to consider. But I would ask that if you could live with this, then I think we should move through, see what else is here, see if there are other things that need to be addressed, and and try to get to a place where we can get this signed.
Natasha has her hand up.
Yes, I have some suggested edits for the third bullet. I don't know if we're ready to proceed to that. Is everyone okay with the second bullet and removing the term "we"?
Are you looking at my screen? The second,
Yes.
you're talking about under the now therefore, not under
Yes.
whereas.
Yeah.
Okay, what is your suggestion for the second bullet?
Okay, for my suggestion for the third bullet, because we, us, our has been inflammatory in this situation, I made a small edit. Listen and learn about how to do better. and how our community can embrace, support, lift up people who are discriminated against and marginalized. So the we can.
How to do. So make that more
Yeah.
how to do.
Better. Okay. And then after can in community, so community can, remove the do better to. Okay. How our community can embrace people.
Like that.
Can embrace people.
Hmm?
No, okay. So embrace, support, and lift.
Yes, all of that.
Okay.
Yes.
All of that. Okay. So just
Okay.
the way it is right now. Listen
Just
and
the way
learn
it is
how to
now.
do better. And
Yeah.
how our community can embrace, support, and lift up people who are discriminated against and marginalized.
Yes.
That sentence still doesn't make that much sense. Listen and learn about how to do better.
Yeah.
How do you learn about how
Listen and learn to do better. Okay, you're right. Just get that
Sorry.
out.
Okay.
Yeah. No, thank you. Yeah. Listen and
Thank
learn
you.
to do better in how our community. Yeah. How's that? Better?
I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Well, it's still not grammatically correct though, Tricia. Listen and learn. I'm sorry, it's hard to read. Listen and learn to do better. And how, and is it learn how our community or help our community? Like you need a verb in there.
Right. Listen and learn to do better.
And help our community to embrace support. Maybe help our community to embrace support and lift up people. How's that? Help our community to embrace. Does that make sense, guys? Sorry.
Or encourage our community.
Yes, and that's what that enforce word they had a problem with before.
Right. So instead of help, use encourage.
Well, we've already got encourage down in the further. I mean, that was the big change there. Then instead of enforcing and must language, we already put the encourage down there.
Okay. Sorry.
Help our community. Just help our community to embrace support. I like just two.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Does anybody else have any edits? Any other suggestions?
No
I know
further
that
suggestions for me.
there was concern expressed about the use of in the last paragraph, the use of reference to local businesses and the houses of worship. I saw changed.
Yeah, that was changed, Phil. That was changed, and I know that there was specifically to that was changed. So it didn't say local businesses before. It said something.
It said employers. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so this way, again, it's an encouraging. It's not expected. There's not an expectation.
Okay.
Encouragement.
All right. So you think that's more likely? And again, with the faith-based organizations, I know there were a couple of people who had issues with that. Well, actually, before it was houses of worship.
Yeah.
Faith-based organizations, you think will be more.
And it was this is the way one of our select board members recommended we put it.
Right. Yeah. I saw that. Okay. All right.
It's fine. We can encourage, we work with our faith-based organizations all the time. And it didn't limit it to houses of worship. It's more broad. So it's better. And the only thing I changed in the recommendation that was made is I kept the condemning racism rather than to advocate for the elimination of racism. It's more than that. We want more than that. We want to encourage these people to condemn and stand against racism, discrimination, and hatred. And then I liked the ending, to celebrate diversity and to support, foster, and encourage a community spirit that reflects trust and respect for all. So I like the fact that they put in the celebrating diversity. Yep. That was a good suggestion. Kind of puts that positive spin on it. This is a result.
I love that too.
Yeah, if we can stand against the ugly stuff, we will be able to celebrate the joys of that. So I think that's a nice ending.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And use it in a positive way. All right,
So
are we
team,
ready?
how do you feel about this revised version of the proclamation?
Sharice has had her hand up for a while.
Okay, Sharice?
You're
You're,
muted,
s-
Sharice.
you're still muted.
I just wanted to make a statement about when my husband and I came, we're from Ohio and we lived in Connecticut for a couple of years. And when my husband was promoted and brought to Massachusetts, it's interesting how other towns look at Chelmsford, because as an African-American couple, one of the towns, they said, my husband works in Andover, and they said a town that you would feel comfortable in and raising your family is Chelmsford. So, to see this proclamation, and it's important because other towns view, and this was 30 years ago, right? And this is the town they steered us to because we didn't know Massachusetts at all. We had no idea. But they said the town that you probably want to live in, where you'll, and it wasn't like they said, well, you'll be welcome, but basically because of and it's been a beautiful town, to raise our children. And I think to have this proclamation and say what it is, because we have seen a lot of ugliness that have come through over the years. And so the fact that other towns 30 years ago has viewed Chelmsford as a place where they don't discriminate, where if you're a person of color or another ethnicity, that you can feel comfortable living here. We need to stand to that creed, even though there's stuff that has happened throughout the years. Overall, still, we've had we're still here, right? We're still living here for a reason and a purpose. And I think, in order for us to get better and do better, these words and it's important, because in order for us to be better, we have to be inclusive and see the town and be the town that other people have steered people like myself to. And I just wanted to say that.
Any other comments? Thanks, by the way, Sharif, for your comments. Any other comments, responses?
I wanted to just follow up on my statement on privilege, where I'm still feeling like a little hesitant, but I'm not feeling like that's a deal breaker. I think we can move forward with this language.
Somebody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that the.
You're a chair, Phil, so let somebody else make the motion because you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I'll make the
I-
motion.
I'll make the
Too
motion.
anxious there.
Okay, go ahead. Carly, go ahead and make the motion.
I'll make the motion to approve this language for the proclamation.
Second.
All in favor, Phil? You want to call?
All in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed?
Is there any opposed? Just, I know that's Phil's job, but I just want to make sure in this case, is there anybody opposed? Nope. Call it, Phil.
No.
Good job.
The proclamation as reviewed has been approved. So I guess our next step is to present that to the select board.
I will send it off to Christina to add to their packets for their meeting on February 8th.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Is in that call, can we also tell them that we're looking into training opportunities and following up on that, but don't have that ready yet? I don't know what else we're going to be touching upon. Is that appropriate?
It's not really a call that we're making though, unless Phil, did they expect you to come back and present to them this proclamation, or were they just?
No, actually, we didn't have any, detailed conversation about that. So I'll have to follow up then, I guess, with them to figure out. I was under the impression that we would just make the changes and resubmit. So I'll reach out to Ken and see what their expectations are. I mean, I don't initially have a need to have another conversation with them. From my perspective, it was simple. We presented. They gave us some comments. We said that we would go back and we would make revisions. We've done that, so we'll just present it to them with the expectation that it will be signed. So
Okay.
that's how I'll go.
If we were in the real world and we weren't meeting via Zoom, somebody would be there to accept a proclamation from the board. If they were there physically signing it, somebody would be there to accept it. So it makes sense that someone is tuned in so that they can acknowledge receipt of, that they did it. So I don't know if you're available to just tune in.
Right. Yeah, I'm definitely available to do that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. So I'll send you like the one with the border on it and all that, so that if you want to send it to the board, the select board, the finished one that we voted on, I'll send it to you, Phil. Okay.
Okay, that's great. Great, thank you.
And let me see how we're doing on our, although it just occurred to me, I saw a setting when it said share screen. I saw a setting that said include volume or something on the computer. So I just want to try it one more time if I could. I know. Although it's still
Never give up.
we're gonna try. Okay, let me just try it one more time and then we can just say goodnight if it doesn't work, okay? Let me just get
Pretty
back
picture.
Oh,
So-
thank you. Yeah, that's our website, but let me just see if I can get it going for you guys, all right? And if not, somebody will make a motion to adjourn while I'm not in sight. All right, one moment.
All right. So while Trish is doing that, just two quick things. Number one, thank you all for this discussion. It was fabulous, and I really appreciate it. And number two, when you guys were talking about a resignation, did we have somebody resign from this committee?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes, but it can't be discussed until next week.
Okay.
All right, let me find that video. Sorry, there it is. Okay. All right, let's try this. Can you hear it at all now? No?
Nope.
Ah,
Nope.
okay.
No.
Unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, that's too bad. All right, well, I'll get it up on the website as soon as possible. And then we'll then you can watch it individually.
Okay. All right. Great.
Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
It's
And
absolutely beautiful.
great. Before we adjourn, any agenda items for next week? We know we have the resignation.
Are we doing weekly still? I know that we were
Or
looking
did,
to
well,
move
that, yeah,
bi-weekly.
thank you. That's the right question. Do we want to not meet next week and meet the following, start our every other week, starting the following week?
Excuse
we
me,
have to
don't we
meet
have
next
a meeting
week.
with Lisa Maroney next
Oh,
week?
that's right. Yeah.
Yes, we have a special guest.
So we have to meet next week.
I think,
Okay.
guys, we're never gonna, I think we're stuck with each
I
other
think we're
every
stuck.
Tuesday.
Yeah, we're gonna be sticking with the weekly meetings for a while.
Okay. All right. So, all right. That sounds good.
Oh, I hear it.
Can you hear it?
Yes.
You want to take it to the
Uh,
beginning?
But I can only hear it. It's choppy.
Oh, it is choppy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
Oh, well, sorry about that.
Well, you tried.
We'll all
Okay.
log
Give us
on.
the week.
Okay, it was impressive. Yeah, but I like the sign. That's really nice.
All right. While this is playing, you guys can make a motion to adjourn.
All right.
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Have a second?
Who seconded that?
I don't think anybody did yet.
Second.
The February 2nd meeting of the first and Inclusion Committee is now adjourned.
All right. Good night,
Get
everybody.
that high note.
Good
All right.
Good
Bye,
night.
Good night.
guys.
Thanks.
Resound loud as the roar.